going to stand just for the start right here. City Council Committee of the Whole met in council chambers, actually moved the council chambers to the Salem 5 Community Room on Monday, September 22nd, 2014 at 6 p.m. for the purpose of discussing the matters listed below. Notice of this meeting was posted on September 18, 2014 at 5:01 p.m. Currently absent is Councilor Milo, who is out of town, and Councilor Gerard, who sent me a text that said she was going to be a few minutes late, but she will be in attendance. I'm Robert McCarthy, I'm the City Council President. If you're wondering how we came up to the order here, we laid them all out by seniority, so I have the good Ward 7 Council to my left as we work on by the years that people were elected to the City Council. There's no, in the chambers we sit in a different roles, so just in case anyone was wondering. Tonight before us, we have this, the matter, as I just mentioned, is a request from Patrick Curtin to meet with the council regarding the Salem State University proposed parking garage. Dr. Curtin petitioned his ward councilor, Councilor O'Keefe, on this matter, and Councilor Turiel to allow the SOS group, I guess is the best way to describe the group, is to come in front of the council and discuss this matter and make the council, because some of us have been directly involved and some of us indirectly, we've read about it, we've heard about it over the matter. I would just add Dr. Curtin's request. We've also requested that the Salem State University send a representative. I know that John Keenan is here representing the university. After Dr. Curtin has a few remarks and then some, a few others, then we're going to let Mr. Keenan, I want to say Representative Keenan, sorry John, I guess his title Vice President now, I'm joking about that, to come up and make a few remarks on behalf of the Salem State University. Then we're going to open it up to you, the public. I just would like to say that everyone here we're here to gather information about this project. I know someone made a rendition of it, of what it would look like, and we're all here just to gather here and to determine how we're going to move forward on this. But at the same time, we're all here to gather information and hear everyone's opinion. I would just hope that everyone's respectful of everyone's opinion, and to avoid conflicts, if you have a statement or anything, try to make it in general to the group, but more so to the body, because this is the body you're trying to address. So we keep personalities out of it. It's more to the group as a whole, and we can move this right along. So with that being said, to see if there's no other comment from the committee, I would open it up to Dr. Curtin, who requested this meeting. Dr. Curtin. Name and address for the record, please.
Pat Curtin, 19 Raymond Avenue. First of all, I'd like to thank Councilor McCarthy for arranging this meeting and accommodating the crowd that we have this evening and moving into this nice facility. And I'd also like to thank all the councilors for giving up your time to be here to hear this important issue that affects not only the South Salem neighborhood, but the entire city of Salem. We appreciate your time, believe me. And I would like to thank Salem Access Television for being here and broadcasting to the rest of the people in the city that can't be here. We have one issue tonight, and the issue is we're putting there's a proposed commercial parking lot proposed to go into a residential neighborhood. A residential neighborhood that has been around many, many years, and it's going to be greatly affected by this garage. We can say this over and over again, and you'll hear a lot of comments tonight from the affected people, not only the direct abutters, but all the other people that are joining the area, and in particular in the neighborhood, of their concerns and what it will do to them and their lifestyle and their future as far as their investment in their property. It's too big, it's in the wrong place, and there are other places that it can go. It's a simple issue, but it gets complicated, as we know. Things can get complicated. The college has said that this garage will be built. We didn't learn of the actual site until June, as our ward councilor O'Keefe had informed us that they actually had proposed, or not proposed, that they were going ahead and siting it at the North Campus. It was a tremendous surprise to everybody that they would even consider doing this in a totally residential neighborhood. We have to have some consideration, we have to have some input, and we're here tonight to ask the council to be our representatives, to be there and stand up for the residents of Salem, the taxpayers, because alone we can't fight this issue. We know that the state is far bigger than we are. They have a lot more resources. They have all kind of commissions and groups and study groups that can try to prove to us how valuable this garage is in this location and why it should be there and no other location. We stand alone as individuals, but we stand united as a group, and hopefully we'll have your support to help us out. Because the fact they say that nothing can be done, I don't believe that. Somehow we've lost control in the city. Somehow we've allowed an entity like Salem State College to come in and dictate to us that we don't have any rights, that our property isn't valuable enough, that our lifestyle is not valuable to the individual that's living on this property. That isn't right. Democracy says that we have to have a right in this. We have to have a say. Someone has to stand up for us. We've been here a long time. Myself, I've been in Salem, in the South Salem area, well over 60 years, and many people here that are affected have been here as long or longer. The college was never intended, as far as I can go, as far back as I can remember, there was never any intention that this college would end up to be as big as it is. We're a small city, a wonderful small city, and we're being overtaken by the state as far as dictating to us what can be done in the future. This is only the beginning of what will happen. If this garage is sited in this residential area, there'll be no hope for all the other projects that they're proposing. And they are proposing many projects. There's just got to be an end to it. Somehow there has to be an end to the development. We have to have some cooperation from the state and from the college. And Patricia Meserve in particular. She's the one that's driving this. And we have to be able to sit down. We have to be able to say to her, enough is enough, and we need some input. The city has to have a say in it, in this development and future development. If this doesn't happen, what's happening in our neighborhood could very well, and it will, end up to be another neighborhood in the city. The college is moving forward at a fast rate, and we cannot stop it without help. And we're asking you tonight to listen to all these people, to give them an ear, and please try to do something that we can go forward and develop a solution. And we may work together, because the college is going to be around a long time, and we're going to be around a long time also. We need your help, and I'm asking you, please, to put your minds together and come up with a solution. I thank you for your attention, and appreciate the time.
I usually don't keep standing for a committee meeting, but I will in this case. Next on the list is Philip Moran. If anyone wants to add their name to the list to speak at tonight's meeting, just come over, we'll slide in a copy of it. Get you on the list. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. President and members of the City Council. My name is Philip D. Moran, and I reside with my wife Carol at 415 Lafayette Street in what we consider one of the premier properties in the city of Salem. We have been blessed to live there peacefully for 40 years in what is and hopefully will continue to be a lovely R1 neighborhood. Actually, until recently, we have lived cooperatively with our neighbor, Salem State University. Presidents like Amsler, Bonachea, Harrington were all respectful of our neighborhood and its surroundings. Also, Stanley Cale was always helpful in making sure that the college and its students were well aware of their place and how to fit into ours and their South Salem neighborhood. However, since President Patricia Meserve took over, there has been a total change in transparency and cooperation. She seems intent on destroying the neighborhood as well as the reputation of Salem State University in the eyes of its neighbors. Despite her statements that she is a good neighbor, neither she nor the university is at this point. It appears the present administration has taken a position of the neighbors and the neighborhood be damned. On behalf of several abutters, I was asked to meet with representatives of the college to discuss mitigation. But as of last Wednesday night, we learned that the administration and the building authority, by virtue of Mr. Ed Edelman, that it would be a waste of time because he told students who were there, don't listen to these people, they're all insane. As a result, my clients feel that to meet will simply be an exercise in futility. For those of you who believe that this simply affects 15 people or neighbors, think again. It affects not only all of Salem, it affects not only all of South Salem, but all of Salem. Because if you can destroy our neighborhood, you can destroy anything else you choose to destroy. As property values decrease, so too the taxes. Thus, every property in Salem will be affected. To make up the difference in the tax rate when our taxes go down. As I have stated before, to place this outrageously large structure in 10 feet from my neighbors' homes is not only unconscionable, but criminal. This is, as has been said, a taking without compensation. There can be no mitigation except to move the proposed garage from the north campus to the Weir property where it will not affect an R1 neighborhood. I recognize that the city solicitor has serious questions on what our legal options are, but I must tell you that we are going to litigate this, and whatever our options are, we will take. I submit it as simply stated, wrong to believe that the environmental notification form submitted without anyone really knowing it absolves Salem State of any MEPA requirements for the next 15 years. That's simply absurd. Perhaps we need to be creative, but believe me, we will be, and I can assure you and request you as members of the City Council to request the mayor to instruct the city solicitor to join us in our legal action whenever and wherever we file. With respect to the university and its plans to construct 20 structures on its 6 sites as stated in the solicitor's opinion, now is the time to say, no more. Enough is enough. The university is out of control, and you, members of the City Council, as representatives of the residents of this city, must stand with us and say, no more, no more. Thank you.
At this time, I would ask John Keenan, I have his card, someplace, Vice President, whatever his new title is, Vice President for the administration, to come up and speak on behalf of the university and what they're going to take out of this meeting and what they're going to take back from this meeting. So, Mr. Keenan.
Thank you, Mr. President. I appreciate the opportunity to address you this evening. I'm John Keenan. I live at 68 Dearborn Street with my wife, Kara, a lifelong resident of Salem, and now I'm also the Vice President for Administration at Salem State University, which also includes capital planning, the project that is before you this evening. So I do want to thank Mr. Curtin for the opportunity to come tonight and speak and address this issue. And part of what I wanted to do is go through the process that Salem State went through to come to the determination that if in fact indeed we do need a garage in that part of the city of Salem on the campus, that this is the best location. For a long time, perhaps as long as I can remember, and I'm approaching 50, parking has always been an issue in South Salem, and particularly around the North Campus, where most of our classrooms are right now, and most of the faculty and the students try to get to on a regular basis. As a result of understanding this problem that is before us, Salem State undertook a master vision plan and took an opportunity to understand and appreciate what needs we're going to have over the next 25 years so that we could put it out to the community, to those people in South Salem Neighborhood Association through the South Salem, the Salem State University Neighborhood Advisory Committee, on which both Councilor Turiel and Councilor O'Keefe sit, along with the Mayor's Chief of Staff, Dominic Pangallo. So we took the opportunity to try to have an exercise to figure out where we're going to go in the next 25 years. In fact, to work cooperatively, both with the people of South Salem as well as the people of Salem. Salem State has been in this city for some 160 years. We certainly hope to be here for another 160 years. But it's quite obvious, I think, that there was a need for another parking structure somewhere on the campus. With that being said, assuming we can agree on that, we then went forth and hired Desmond Associates to take a look and a review and see where the demand was most needed, to see which of the locations, and the three locations that we really looked at was North Campus, which is the present location that was selected, Central Campus, which is the old Osram Sylvania, for those of you in the room who remember the Osram Sylvania, and then also the O'Keefe Center. South Campus was not really a viable option to begin with. First and foremost, it's too far away, and secondly, in all likelihood, not really part of the campus in terms of the strategic vision going forward if we are in fact to put the Horace Mann School down to Harringtonville and switch those out. So that wasn't really an appropriate location. So it really boiled down to the three particular sites, that being the North Campus, where it is presently selected, Central Campus, and the O'Keefe Center. The O'Keefe Center, I think some of you learned at the meeting last week with David Knowlton, the city engineer, is presently under discussions. I believe Councilor Turiel's aware of this as well, representing his constituents down there, and an opportunity to work with the city and make sure that the flooding problem that's happened on Canal Street for as long as I can remember will be addressed and mitigated. Those plans are in the early phases, but it's expected that the two cisterns that will sit underneath that parking lot will take up a good 2/3 of that parking lot. So at present, it's not presently determined where on the parking lot they would go, and even if you did decide to build them on top of that, the cost would be prohibitive in terms of the structure that you would have to put underneath to hold that system. Additionally, for the O'Keefe Center is the problem of queuing and getting into the parking garage. Any of you, like myself, who've tried to get a bagel on a Saturday morning or go to the Dunkin' Donuts on Canal Street, have seen the queuing that backs out into the Canal Street roadway, that would be a similar situation as well if we were to put a parking garage down there. Again, the primary reason that we can't do it is the mitigation that we're working on with the city of flooding, but also it is not appropriate in terms of the traffic issues that it would cause there. As for Central Campus, again, traffic being the primary reason and queuing why we would not be able to do that. We don't have appropriate access to that lot to get in and out of there, to build a parking lot. As was mentioned in the master vision for the next 25 years, there is an expectation at some point there'll be a consideration of another parking facility, and if at that time there's appropriate access to that lot, that may in fact become a reality, but today it would really reduce the ability to get in and out of Loring Ave. And again, anybody who's tried to get in and out of that access from the Enterprise Center realizes that's a very difficult situation. So understanding that both certainly the South Campus was inappropriate, that the Central Campus was not appropriate, and that O'Keefe didn't work, we come back to the North Campus, which also happens to be the place where most of our classrooms take place, where most of our faculty are trying to get to, where most of our students are trying to get to, and come to the conclusion that that in fact is the best location. Is it a perfect location? Absolutely not. There is no perfect location for a 725-car garage. But of the areas that we own at this particular time, of the three locations that we were able to look at, this is certainly the best location for several reasons. Those being that that's where the students and faculty want to park, and you won't have the issue of driving around in circles, either going through the parking lot and going back around the Lafayette-Loring intersection, which is perhaps one of the worst. The mitigation for this project, in fact, will be College Way will now become two ways on Loring Ave, so you'll have the opportunity, if you're driving up Loring Ave, to take a right and go in there, instead of looping around the Lafayette-Loring intersection and coming back down to College Drive. So it is anticipated, and I know we have provided funding for the city of Salem actually to do a peer review of our traffic study, but it is anticipated with this project at that location that traffic will not get worse and perhaps may even get better because of the fact that you're taking away the circling of the people who are trying to get into that location. Additionally, because of the logistics of the parking garage and the need for the size of a lot, the Peabody lot is actually most appropriate for this particular location. Understanding that there are neighbors close to this project, certainly on Raymond Road and Raymond Ave, we understand that, and in fact, Desmond Associates took that into consideration in the creation of the plan on the site plan itself and its footprint, trying to keep it as far away possible as from the Raymond Road location as it could be situated. And then also on the Raymond Ave side, as you know, I think was announced last week, we've also moved that another 5 feet away, so it's 15 feet away from those property lines. Most importantly, to make sure that the irrigation, the trees down there will be able to survive as well, because we do understand that that's a primary mitigation. Additionally, the design of the structure is such that in that southeast corner, which is closest to the corner of Raymond Ave and Raymond Road, is actually the lowest portion. It's about 3 stories right there, about 40 feet high in that corner, which is the corner that abuts directly those neighbors down on I think 30 Raymond Ave and 32 Raymond Ave. That is the smallest part and was intentionally situated there because it is the smallest part of the garage, with the larger part being closer towards the Peabody Hall, which is a taller structure, obviously about 14 feet taller than this structure, but it was situated on that location in its best possible location so that it would provide the best mitigation to the neighbors. Understanding that, we have reached out, I think as Attorney Moran had suggested, and continue to reach out to the directly abutting neighbors for an opportunity to try to speak to them and see if there are things that we can do either in their yard as additional screening or to the back of the garage, whether it's putting green cover on it or other things that may mitigate whether you'll be able to see it from your backyard. We're happy to have those discussions. In fact, part of the reason I'm here tonight is to listen to you, hear those suggestions. We have taken some of those suggestions from the Neighborhood Advisory Committee, from the meetings that have gone on with the South Salem Neighborhood Association, and every other meeting that we've had with the Student Government Association, all the input that we've taken, and I hope you understand and appreciate, we've tried to answer each and every question that you've had. Any questions that come up this evening, in fact, we have someone in the audience actually recording all the questions, and we will respond to you in person directly. And if we don't have your address, we will make sure that it's posted on the webpage as well, and we will make sure that we have all those answers by this Friday. I tried to anticipate the best that I could the questions that have been coming up, and you have those in the letter from President Meserve, who unfortunately couldn't be here tonight, so I've given you both a letter from President Meserve, sort of laying out the process through which Salem State University went to determine the need for the parking structure, and again, I hope we can all agree on the need, and then the process itself. I know there's going to be some folks that disagree with it, but I did want to take the opportunity tonight to come and explain that process, how we came to this determination that this, of the 3 locations, was the best location for the garage. And lastly, I also handed out frequently asked questions, which is just a summary of some of the questions that we've received from you over the last several weeks and months, quite frankly, and also a timeline as to how the master plan was actually laid out to begin with, the discussions that we had with the Neighborhood Association, and also the process we went through for MIPA, interestingly enough. If there are any other questions, particularly, as I said, if folks come up here tonight, we will record your name and your question, and we will get back to you within the next couple of days. Also, I just wanted to let you know, if you haven't seen it already, the master vision, as was referenced by Attorney Moran, is on our webpage. If you go to our webpage and go to the community, come down to the master vision, you will see both the executive summary and all the appendices which go through the master planning for the next 25 years, which is really the process that the state would like you to go through when you anticipate over the course of the next 10 to 20 years that you're going to undergo many more projects than just one. So again, I want to thank the City Council for taking up this most important issue. I want to thank the residents, certainly of South Salem, who are here this evening, and certainly any other residents of the City of Salem. We hope and like to believe that we have a positive impact on the City of Salem. There's some 1,500 people that work at Salem State University. We have a very positive impact on the community in terms of economic impact. I like to think that the students on their best days are coming downtown here and spending money as well in our businesses, and we want to be a good neighbor, and that's part of the reason that I'm here tonight, and hope going forward as we build out this master vision that we can continue in that cooperative spirit. So again, I thank you for your time tonight. Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you.
Hold on one second. Let the record reflect that Councilor Girard has joined us. Councilor Repler.
Mr. President, I just have a question for Vice President, just one question, informational question for Vice President Keenan, if he knows. And I'm just looking for the estimated cost for the peer review traffic study, if the city were to take that up.
John, do you happen to know that off the top of your head?
I don't know off the top of my head, Council. I do know that where university discovery costs that over the city.
We can get you that.
I think it was budgeted around $10,000, but that's the number that I had. I don't know the number.
Thank you. Council Turner.
Thank you, Mr. President, through you. We have in fact ordered that study be done, so that is underway at this point.
Yeah, it's in the process. Before I forget, I also want to thank the city clerk who happens to be here, the Salem 5 community, Salem 5 Bank for allowing us to move this here. When I talked to Dr. Curtin, I think it was Wednesday or Thursday last week, and it was after the meeting that was held down at the Enterprise Center, and we decided that it was prudent. And if we were in council chambers right now, there's about 20 seats in there, and we'd all be standing. So we thought it was prudent that we move it here, even though it's atypical for us to do it, but in this case, we thought it was prudent. So I want to go on record as thanking the city clerk and her office. I want to thank the mayor's office. Jen Wessel was instrumental in coordinating some of the efforts around this room, and Salem 5 for allowing us to have this meeting here, and thank all of you for coming. With that, I'm going to open it up to everyone else whose name is on the list who signed up and wants to address this issue in front of the council. And all I ask is name and address for the record. Jim Treadwell is the next on the list, please, sir.
I'm Jim Treadwell. I'm a resident of Ward 6, 36 Fell Street. I'm a certified city planner, and I worked primarily with federal government agencies, and I was responsible for environmental reviews of various federal projects. I will only speak in generalities. If I go to anything specific, please tell me to go in the other direction. The reason for that is I was called at 8:30 this morning by somebody who asked me to look at the documents available for this project from the environmental perspective. And I've spent the day trying to find out how the environmental review process went forward in this case. Let's start with the fact that the document, the environmental notification form, was developed by Epsilon Associates, a well-regarded environmental consultant on environmental matters, and a person by the name of Mike Howard was the project manager for that. The MEPA, which just stands for the Massachusetts Environmental Policy Act, also had a representative involved in the process, and that man's first name was Rick Bowery, I think his last name is. He's the assistant to the director of the MEPA office. A very well-regarded person who has been involved with the process for an extended period of time. What transpired in that regard, as far as I can tell, all the I's and T's have been crossed, except I wasn't able to find a couple of I's or T's, so we'll have to find out if those were satisfied or not. I have to assume, because of the experience of the people who were involved with preparing the environmental notification form, this is the actual environmental document, which is listed in the Department of Energy and Environmental Affairs. And it's not rocket science. It's easy to read, and it summarizes what the MEPA office and their consultant came up with in terms of impact of about 20 projects covered by the vision plan, the vision master plan for this state university. The document was signed on June 24th, just to give you the time frame. It was dated June 30th. It was submitted to MEPA for circulation, and let me just say that the principle of the purpose of the MEPA review is to let the public and state agencies know what's going on and to comment. The basic purpose of the law is to have meaningful public comment. Whether that was satisfied or not, I have no basis for drawing a conclusion in that regard. But I think it's an important consideration, and that if you want another reading, you could go to 301 Code of Massachusetts Regulations 11, and you would be able to find the process that the state must follow. Again, maybe it's closer to rocket science than other things I've referred to, but again, it makes good reading. And let me just say what the purpose, the second line under purpose is, the purpose of MIPA and the regulations is to provide meaningful opportunities for public review of the potential impacts of projects which the agency action is required to address. So they have to, and I think Representative Keenan has taken the opportunity to say that there has been meaningful interest, input. And if you read this document, again, I think the people who are interested in the impacts should get a hold of this document and decide if it's full of opportunities for public input. The description of the efforts that this university has made to reach out to the public in accordance with the law. So anyway, this document was on the monitor. The environmental monitor comes out twice a month. It lists all the projects that are under review within the state of Massachusetts. Again, it's on this Department of Energy and Environmental Resources website. It comes out bi-weekly. I don't know how many times I've told people to look at this document at neighborhood association meetings, etc., and find out what is going on in Salem. In this case, there were two other projects that were listed in Salem. One was the Chapter 91 review for the new waterfront hotel, which is the expansion of the existing hotel.
Hold on 1 second. We're old school because we're reviewing. Sorry, Jim. Okay, go ahead.
So again, if you read this document, you'll know what's going on. From project, the new port, the wharf, the expansion of the wharf was reviewed earlier this year, the waterfront hotel expansion, etc. There are other projects in Salem in this document, and they must be published and circulated. Circulation, I think I was unable to find the notice that it must be made in the local newspaper telling about the availability of this document. I was told by the project manager that it was either July 7, a Saturday, or July 9, a Monday. But be that as it may, I've not been able, has anybody seen the actual legal notice in the news? No. Okay, I think that's a good task for somebody to look for. But this document was circulated, and the comments, it was in the Environmental Monitor of, I'm going to say July 9th. And the comment period was to 7/29. So that was the required period that everybody had to look at this document and make comment. Only two agencies, the notification came to Salem, it came to the council, it came to the Conservation Commission, according to this document, it came to the Board of Health, and it came to our planning department. No response from any of those agencies was made to the MIPA office. The two agencies that did comment were state agencies, the Coastal Zone Management Agency and the Department of Environmental Protection, the Northeast Regional Office. Now, I'm going to get to another document that really is important for everybody to read, and that is the Secretary's certification. And this was August 8th. And what it is the normal certification that the Secretary of Environmental Affairs makes after all the comments are received, and with his staff makes a conclusion as to whether or not, in this case, an environmental impact report was necessary or not. The Secretary made a finding that what they had produced was an adequate environmental review for this document. Again, it covered 20 projects, either renovations or new developments. And what the Secretary found, and I'll read two very important statements in here, and I think this is sort of like the ball you would want to run with. I hereby determine that the project does not require the preparation of an environmental impact report. The plan as proposed is conceptual in nature. As planning evolves and specific project designs are developed, I expect the proponent, that's the university,
will consult with the MEPA office regarding the applicability of MEPA review and updates to the master plan. So, and that, the other, excuse me, another phrase where he reaches his conclusion is, and this is Secretary Bartlett, based on the information in the EENF, this is an expanded environmental notification form, and after consultation with the relevant state agency, I find that no part of that MEPA review is required at this time. However, as more details of projects become available, and in particular, regarding wetland impacts and/or increases in parking, the university should consult with the MEPA office to determine the need for additional review in the form of a notice of project change. So, the Secretary, the MEPA agency expects there to be further study, further impact analysis for projects such as that will impact wetlands or result from the parking. For example, one of the dangers to the environment could be noise. Can you imagine all the beeping and everything that's going to be coming out of this garage?
More imagining, believe me.
Yeah. So anyway, I think that I don't know if that's adequately covered in here. That's for somebody else to make a determination. MEPA has found that it is sufficient, but with caveats that they expect further review, further environmental review. Anyway, the August 8th was the conclusion of the MEPA review for this project. I don't know offhand if there's a period when people can counter the Secretary's determination, but I'm sure that's, since it was August 8th that the determination was made, it probably has expired, whatever that comment period was. Let me just point out one other piece of reading material, and this is really duck soup for me, is the irony that occurred when the inspector of building for the city of Salem and Salem State University went to court, and this was the determination in our own city, with our own university, where the decision was made that the local zoning does not apply to the college or other DCAM projects in cities. And this is one of the things that we're always talking about here, that the university does not have to comply with the local zoning. And here it is. It's not a complicated thing either. But so that's where I'm coming from. I think they have gone through the environmental review process correctly. I have not been able to find the fact that they did put an article or notice in the newspaper, and I have not seen the vision plan per se, even though I've tried to bring it up. It's in there somewhere. I think there are things that you could look for and read and find out exactly what the process was and formulate your opinion as to whether or not the environmental review process was satisfied. Thank you very much.
Next up on the list is T.Z. Riley Buck.
T.C. Riley Goggin, 9 Wisteria Street. My thanks to the council, the council president, and for all of you to being here once again. Last week I spoke and I talked about the college, the fact that there was a time that they used to shovel. There was a time that they used to plow. And then I said they went to a bulldozer. And then I said, at this point, I figured the college was bullying. But today, after reading the headlines in the paper, and last week, right on our own Salem News, when I read about the young children up at the motels and hotels and havens where they are now billeted, close to 400 of them, I stand before you right now, not only as a citizen, but I stand before you as an educator, and I feel shame. I feel shame for what we're doing to our children. I feel shame that when we say it takes a village to raise a child, it doesn't take a village to raise a garage. It doesn't take a university any time to realize that what we are setting as examples for our young college people coming out, when we make a college more priority than the needs of these children throughout Massachusetts. The headlines today talked about the fact that 1 out of every 6 children live in poverty. And they said those with single mothers, 1 in 4. What is wrong with us? What is wrong as we sit here right now and contemplate about a garage? Our counselors are here. They read the same headlines. The people in the administration, they've read the same headlines. Are they going to say to the governor, we don't need a garage. We don't need all of these dorms. We don't have to think about how far our college children are going, excuse me, not children. The children are the ones that are in poverty. We don't have to think about our young college adults and how far they can walk. When these children who live up there in Danvers or wherever they're living, or in some shelter, maybe someplace, where they sleep at night, the type of violence that they watch, when people are we going to put our priorities where our priorities belong? When are our elected officials going to stop the nonsense of playing politics and become part of that village? Let's raise those children with some dignity. Let's surround them with love. Thank you.
Deborah Goldberg. You defer? Okay. It's Rick, and I'm apologizing, I can't quite read the writing. Nardella? It looks like an N. Rick, if you would please. Now I can see it. The N kind of mixed with a G from the woman above it. I couldn't quite read it. Name and address for the record, please, sir.
Excuse me, my name is Rick Nardella. I live at 30 Raymond Avenue in Salem. I want to thank you all for being here and for listening to us. I want to say that the college wants to be our friends. I believe they do. I just believe they don't know how to go about it and do it. I think we're being taken advantage of. I think it's a sin. I've lived in this city my entire life. 60 years in the same residence. Brought my children up there. My parents brought me up there. A wonderful, wonderful part of town. But you know what's going to happen? Bang. We're not going to see the rest of the town anymore because they're putting a structure where there shouldn't be a structure. Where does it stop? Well, even if we stop this here in the parking lot of the PB parking lot, where are they going to jump to next? Because they have a master plan. Well, I'll tell you what, nobody informed us of this master plan. Everything's been done on the slide. And I think it's time they start telling the truth and treat us as decent human beings that we are. Thank you.
Next up is Fabio Bardini. Please, sir, name and address for the record.
Hello, I'm Fabio Bardini. I live at 16 Lafayette Street. Thank you, Council President and Council, for listening to us. I've made these models for anyone who hasn't seen them before. They represent the parking garage that's being proposed on our backyard. And I truly believe that it's outrageous how anybody could have the rights to do that when no one else does. We are making some laws about chicken coops in the city. Chicken coop can't be any higher than 6 feet, and it has to be 15 feet from a fence. And however, they can put a 54-foot structure by 380 feet long, 15 feet away from my fence. I think that's it's unfair. It would devalue our home by at least 50%, and it would destroy our backyards. This is where our children hang out. This is where we have our gardens. This is where I grow my vegetables and flowers, and I have bees. That would all be taken away from me, and my neighbors as well. The privacy would just be gone out the window. If you can look at that, this model section, we would have people 54 feet high looking at our backyard, and you can see this is my wife and myself depicted and my children here. Can you just imagine anybody's backyard being backed up by a structure of this size. This is just impossible. It's like a New York City alleyway with a residential neighborhood next to it. It just, the two things just don't add up. Salem State University has been speaking about mitigating this building, but I myself cannot see any way to mitigate a building of that size. I have made a full-scale plan of the garage on the right there. I put it 15 feet away as the changes have been announced on the last meeting. I put a row of trees there, which are about 14 feet tall, and you can see that they do absolutely nothing as far as hiding that building. There's not a tree or a fence tall enough to hide that building from our sight. And just hiding the building alone, it's not really, it doesn't do much at all, because our sun is going to be taken away, it's going to be replaced with pollution, it's going to be lit at night, there's going to be noise day and night, and our yard, that's where we spend our time after a hard work day, is going to be taken away. Thank you.
Laura Lee Stewart.
Laura Lee Stewart, 107 Rainbow Terrace, for a few more days. I don't have anything prepared. There have been a lot of good speakers up here reading off of things that they've prepared. For me, it's a little bit more emotional. I grew up, born in South Salem, raised in South Salem, grew up hanging out with the kids where I live right now at Rainbow Terrace. On the verge of being a homeowner for the first time. And being on the public housing side and being on the verge of owning a home, I really do understand the issues, but what really makes me very sad is to realize that my private neighbors feel very bullied by Salem State University, much in the way that I have felt for 14 years as a tenant of Salem Housing Authority. I thought we were the only ones in the world that didn't get any input, and we're supposed to have input under 760 CMR 6.09. We don't get it. And now, it's just amazing to me to learn that my private neighbors would rather have us as their neighbors. See, we are part of the vision plan, and I don't have a copy of the vision plan, but we know what's going on. I know what's going on. We didn't hear about it from the Salem Housing Authority. I heard about it from people at DHCD, at conventions where I'm currently on the board of the Mass Union of Public Housing Tenants. And I need to say to the City Council, thank you for hearing us, but this issue is not just about the garage, it's really about the entire master vision statement. And my whole family lives in South Salem, and I will be probably, I think, in Councilor Siegel's Ward 3. We feel let down. We feel let down. We feel bullied. I feel bullied as a public housing tenant, and my family, taxpayers in this city, and I know right now all I'm paying to the city in taxes are excise taxes, but I think we all feel bullied, and we need you to hear that as our elected officials, we want to hear more from you. My family couldn't be here tonight, but they keep sending me out because I'm the advocate. So my family is feeling like nobody is listening to them, and that makes me very sad because they do pay taxes, and we've been part of Salem for a long time. And we're gonna, on my behalf, for the tenants of Rainbow Terrace who are abutters, but we don't have an attorney, we probably won't have an attorney, and nobody's talking to us as they should be under 760 CMR 6.09. We need somebody to talk to us. So please, elected officials from the mayor all the way to the city council, please hear the people that are putting you in office. Thank you.
Mayor Raymond Garfield.
Name and address for the record, please.
Meredith Bob here, 26 Raymond Road. We've lived on Raymond Road since about 1973, and we've seen a lot of construction since Salem State started their master vision. I'm so sorry that we have to ask all these counselors to be here, and that we couldn't come to some agreement with Salem State, that somebody wouldn't listen and negotiate with us. There was no feedback from Salem State during this entire process. All they did was tell us what they were going to do. There was no listening to any of the neighbors. I've already lost my sunset because the dorms are in back of our yard. Tonight when I left at 4:45, there was sunlight just on the roof of my house, and it's 2 stories tall. We're in the equinox. We're going into winter. It's windier, it's colder, it's darker, and it echoes. When they were digging around the perimeter of potentially where this garage is going, I thought it was in my backyard because the echo off the dorms comes right into your house. When they build this cement structure, I'll be in a valley. They'll take away my morning sun because that's the angle our house sits at. On this brochure that I was just handed with frequently asked questions, there's a comment here that the queuing along the garage is going to be totally on Salem State property. And that's true. All along the playgrounds of Rainbow Terrace, where the kids play. For anyone to even suggest that the traffic will be less by allowing left-hand turns onto Loring Ave, coming out 60 or 70 feet from a grammar school, and also allowing left turns going in and cutting off that northbound traffic in 2 directions. I can't conceive how that is going to alleviate and make the traffic flow better. I would invite all the counselors to take up a chair and sit on the north side of this garage down here at the Salem station and have a cup of tea and wait for the sun to go down 15 feet from the garage. I don't think I understand Salem State's problem. It's not our problem. They can have satellite parking elsewhere. The traffic on Loring Ave and Jefferson Ave and Lafayette Street is impassable now. 400 cars at 15 feet a car, that's 2 more miles of traffic, roughly. I don't know how it's going to be better. That's all I have to say.
Carol Moran.
Thank you all for listening to us. I think the biggest problem we have is the fact that we're treated, as the man from the state said, like we're a bunch of insane imbeciles. We're not. We're fairly logical, well-educated people. And for us to sit through meeting after meeting and be told there's been no decision made on a garage, when it's in the master plan as being okay already, is pretty offensive to us. If we're meeting, we expect that they're listening to us. Nobody's listening to us. They've already made their plans. They've already decided where this is going to be. Why are we all sitting, making them believe we're idiots when they've already made their decision? I'd like you all, instead of going to that garage, come to my front yard. I'll serve you coffee and donuts, and you can count the cars that are tied up from Marblehead going by our house from 6:30 on. That's without the 500 or 700 more people coming in and out. There is no way we can take any more traffic on Lafayette Street. It is a state road. I suppose we could push for no parking. We don't mind the kids parking on one side of the street as compared to what else we have to live with. But this is not a place to add more traffic. If you go back over to Loring Avenue to the Weir property, they wouldn't even need a 5-story garage. To get the same number of cars, they don't even need a 3-story garage. It would not be as offensive to anybody. It's a commercial area. We are in a residential area, and it's a beautiful place to live. It will not be a beautiful place to live with a 53-foot high structure. I was going to make a recording over at the Beverly Garage of cars sitting in there with their radios going and revving their engines in traffic, waiting to get in or out of the garage. That's what these people are going to live with. When the leaves are off the trees, we're all going to live with that 53-foot structure. It can't be there. We cannot allow it to take over our neighborhood. The college has always been a wonderful place. I've taken courses there since I've lived there. That's not the point. President Missouri is here to bulldoze us, to get all these projects in order, and then she'll leave and retire, and we're stuck with the sins that she's created in our neighborhood. So I'd like you all to please join us. We do have a wonderful attorney all set to represent us, and it would be nice if you would join us.
Kay Walsh. I knew I saw her there. She is.
I spoke last week at the meeting, and I'm glad to see all the councilors here. I hope you're really listening to what's going on here. And each and every one of you, if you own a home and you're living there, think about your backyard with 15 feet and a building, 4 times higher than this one as we're sitting in? What a beautiful room this is. Maybe we should get a parking garage here. Think about it. This is a mistake. It's huge. It is too much, too big, and too fast. This needs to be analyzed much more, must be looked at. I think Salem State, to me, let's call it state. My mother went to normal school here. Family history. It's part of my life. I have 1 degree from there, have gone to other colleges. Yes, I had to walk a long way when I went into Cambridge. That was a long walk. I had to go. I'm sorry. Having the car outside your window is not the answer for the students. They can walk, they can bus. One student said they had to wait too long to get the bus to their placement. So therefore, they come closer, they try to get earlier so they get a place to park on the street. I think there does need to be some parking. Do you need something that's that large? Can you spread this out more? I think you can. But when that person said she had a pass, but she never went into where she could park, she preferred to park on the street and leaves her car there for days. You remember that
Yes.
little quote? I thought, well, maybe that's the problem. How can a car be parked? She stays there. She doesn't use her car. She brings a car, she parks it on the street, and it stays there because she stays in the community. She doesn't need the car unless she wants to go somewhere on the weekend. So I'm thinking to myself, wait a minute. There is probably a lot more spaces that are being used that way. There are a lot of cars that are probably sitting there all day. So this has to be looked at. The other thing is that I believe this will affect South Salem. I also know the traffic will be worse, and you can't tell me that 725 cars coming and going all day long with multiple other people. Don't forget, they said they give out car passes so that 725 people can go in there. But there may be 1,400 doing that between days and nights in different classes. So you have to think about that. Lafayette Street is already busy in the morning, and somebody said, well, Marblehead's going to have to suffer. How does Marblehead get onto 114? That's a public street, a street that Marblehead uses, and a street that we all use. So you can think that maybe if we move it over here, it's going to be okay, because it might not be as bad on Loring or Canal Street. I cannot buy that. I hope none of you are buying that. Some of you live close enough to stop thinking about it. I know some of you live close. I live on that side of town. Those of you who are living in North Salem, including our respected person, John Keenan, and I believe Dr. Meservey lives in North Salem. So these are the people making the decisions, telling us that this is okay. I don't agree. This is too much, too fast, and way over the top, and this is not friendly nor nice to our neighborhood. You are disrupting people's homes. This will cost them the loss of their equity. I want you, if all of you own a home, how many of you own a home here? How many here? Okay. Would you be happy looking at a 5-story building within that close proximity to your home? And what would that do to you for your equity in the home that you've spent your life working for? Just think about that.
Thanks.
Helen Kurt.
Helen Kurt, 19 Raven Avenue.
1 second, Helen, sorry. Back to old school, all tape recorders.
That's okay. Nixon was too.
Yes. Go ahead.
Anyway, I'd like to thank the councilors for coming tonight to listen to all of our trials and tribulations. And I'm going to be very brief because I go along with what everybody has said so far. I don't want to, repeat myself. But I'm going to address the people from Salem State who are here and who have been through many of our meetings and have sat and listened to all the heartache that all the good people of Salem are going through. Rainbow Road, Rainbow Terrace, Raymond, the whole South Salem, the whole traffic condition, which is abominable. And I have one question for you people who have listened to us. How, in the name of God, you sleep at night? Thank you.
Sue Maloney.
Sue Maloney, I live at 414 and a half Lafayette Street. I am a direct abutter, which would be 15 feet from my property line. Thank you for having us. Glad you're listening. I hope you're all hearing us. This would obviously be too close. It would be too noisy. The fumes would be horrible. My son has asthma. The cars idling, waiting to get in the garage and come out. The fumes from that. The lack of natural light. The lights from the garage. Everything about it is wrong. And also, I have been driving around the college parking lots at all hours of the day. I've gone by the O'Keefe Center at 3 different times. There has been 54 plus open spaces. Every time I've gone by there, maybe the college needs to look at how they distribute their parking passes. Maybe kids today all use iPhones and iPads. Maybe they should have an app on their iPhone that tells them where to go to a parking space, where there is a free parking space. Maybe that would help. Our property values, we're not rich people. I'm trying to save up enough money just to find out what my property's worth right now. You know, maybe one child will have to miss a piano lesson. I don't know. I don't have the funds like the college does to do all these things. And I did attend a meeting on the chickens in which they said, 15 feet, you have to have your chickens from somebody's property line, but yet you can put this garage 15 feet. It just doesn't make sense. It's not right. Mr. Keenan said that, the South Campus would not be the right place to put a garage. It's too far. Well, I'd like to say where you're trying to put it is too close.
Jeff Rookby, I hope I got that right.
Pretty good.
Pretty good? Yeah. Nice. Name and address for the record, please.
Yes, sir. It's Jeff McBee, 422 Lafayette Street. I'm on the corner of Raymond Avenue. There's a lot to talk about here. Forgive me if I ping pong around a little bit, but I have to say that as I've been learning more and more about this, as I've been talking more and more to people, and hearing what the college is saying, Dr. Mercervi presents herself as a good neighbor. She presents herself as fair and open. I'm not seeing it. And I'm glad you're here tonight, Mr. Keenan, because you have quite a PR correction job ahead of you, I'm afraid. In the last few years, there's been lying to neighbors. There's been improper use of public roadways, particularly the bike path, with Salem State Police cars driving on them. We eventually had to put up blocks at the end to get them to stop doing it. Tremendous issues, and unfortunately, since Dr. Mercervi came in, Salem State doesn't have our trust anymore. When you do something like this, and potentially, are sneaking one past the goalie in terms of the broad, slippery MIPA application, it doesn't help. The parking issues, they keep saying that everybody in South Salem was asking for a parking garage. And I noticed that in the frequently asked questions thing, it has now changed to many South Salem residents are asking for a parking garage. On August 20th, at a meeting of the South Salem University Neighborhood Advisory Committee, there were about 200 people there, I would say. We polled the room and said, how many people asked for a parking garage? One hand went up, and that person was there to oppose this parking garage. We don't doubt that the college needs some parking if they're going to grow, but I've been doing my own very informal studies, like a lot of people here have, driving around since the first week of school. The parking lots fill up after the street parking. And people who are parking on the street are not only Salem State students with stickers, they're also Salem State employees with staff and faculty parking stickers. They're not even parking, the staff isn't even parking in their own lots. And the staff faculty lots, when I look at them, are generally between 50% to 2/3 full, which means you have to start looking at how you're distributing these parking passes. And Polly pointed out in the last meeting last week that there doesn't seem to be any rhyme or reason as to how the parking permits are issued. And if I was a Salem State student, I'd be very aggravated by that because they're charging you for a parking sticker that you may not use, you may not be able to use. The complaints about parking in South Salem have not been, about kids parking where it's legal to park. They've been complaints about illegal parking. I had a Salem State police officer come over to Raymond Avenue when there were 6 or 7 illegally parked cars there. Because they function differently than the Salem Police Department, who are usually too busy during the time of day to get there in an adequate amount of time, which I totally understand. I'd rather have them handling major issues. The guy wrote 1 ticket, leaving 6 or 5 other cars that were illegally parked that he saw unticketed. And I feel like, nobody wants to offend the users, which is what they've been referred to, but the students. Cars illegally parked, a state police officer ought to write a ticket. Excuse me, I get parched. So this garage, 725 spaces, supposed to turn over 3 times a day. That's going to kick out a lot of pollution, a lot of noise, and a lot of light. The lights are designed at night to flicker on and off based on motion. Can you imagine what that's going to be like 15 feet from your backyard? The SSU reports, I believe the traffic reports, said there'd be no impact on abutters, and this was back when the garage was 10 feet from abutters. Environmental exhaust impact. But then later on, in their own reports, they state that they're concerned about pollution, the same kind of pollution, noise, light, and emissions, to a dorm that's 45 feet away from where they're planning with the garage. Good to see that they're now saying it may reduce traffic at Loring Avenue and Lafayette, but I very much doubt it. There's a concern that I have, and I think you guys really need to think about this, which is that the vision plan also talks about merging the campuses or joining the campuses. If you put this giant garage in the middle of a residential block and destroy the property values, then you can buy up the land as people flee from a situation that's, an unlivable, unpleasant quality of life. Which means that then you can start working on the other side of Raymond Road. And I can show you a map if you want to see it, but I think you guys are probably all familiar with South Salem. And people on the other side of Raymond Road are already feeling the pain from some of the things that happen on the bike path that aren't well policed. It really seems to me like this could be, again, I can't peek into people's minds like Mr. Abelman, who can look in and see that we're insane. But I wouldn't accuse the college of planning this, but I can tell you that it could very well be a direct result of this garage landing in this space. And you need to think about that. I could go through this frequently asked question thing for probably another 15 minutes. I won't put you through that. But I will tell you that we didn't ask for this fight. It literally came knocking on our back doors. There's no reason that we should be here today and have to have these meetings and have these discussions. But if a fight comes to my back door, I will fight. And everyone here will join me, and we will all fight you together. So you need to figure this out.
Holly Wilbur. Now, Holly's the last one signed up, so is there anyone else who wants to sign up and say something? Is there another sheet that I'm missing?
No.
Name and address for the record.
Holly Wilbert, 7 Cedar Street. I just want to make sure that some of the counselors who haven't had the opportunity to attend some of the meetings that we've attended for the last half of a year on this issue understand some of the facts that we've had to deal with. When the model for the garage was first presented to us in June, Mr. Edelman told us that when we said the building's too tall and it's too big, he said, and I'm quoting, "It's too late in the process." We had only just seen the model. The other thing that I find really appalling as it's come out in the last day or so is this MEPA review. We've been meeting with the college on a monthly basis in these open public meetings that's hosted by the city and jointly attended by the college. At no point in any of these meetings was a MEPA review application or submission ever mentioned to any of us. How do you go and submit your master vision plan for MEPA review and not have it be noticed to people with whom you are meeting on these very subjects? What kind of honesty is that? What kind of relationship does that say the college wants to have with the neighborhood? How appalling. How appalling can you not be upfront and honest enough with people with whom you are supposedly meeting to understand what's happening? How can you not say we've submitted our master vision plan for MEPA review and the notification period starts now and you need to have your comments in by this date? Not one bit of notice in that advisory committee meeting. Appalling. One of the things that we've come to understand is the parking permit process at the university. There are, depending on what document you look at and how you add the spaces up, 2,711 parking spaces on campus now. Chief Labonte, who has been given the joy of handing out the parking permits, has told us that there are 5,000 permits given out. Now, I'm assuming that approximately 500 of those are probably staff and teachers. If you take a $100 permit fee a semester and you multiply it times 4,500, you're going to come up with $900,000. And that's not taking into consideration any permits given out during summer terms. So $900,000 a year for just 4,500 permits. There's no limit, apparently, to the number of commuter permits that are given out. If someone applies for a commuter parking permit, they're given one. No top number. So I asked the chief, after they build this enormous garage, are they going to give out 7,200 permits? Where's the cap? I would ask the council to stand with us and ask that in addition to the traffic study that the city is doing now, that the parking permit process at the university be looked at by professionals. I don't believe that the way the permits are given out and that the process of the numbers of permits are given out really manages the parking or the traffic. There's an unlimited number of commuter permits given out. So where does this control the traffic in our neighborhood in South Salem? It doesn't. It just brings in revenue to build more garages and bigger garages. If this garage is $23 million, and I want you to know that it started off at $16 million, they're going to have paid this off in a very short amount of time because you leverage that money over 15 years. We also don't know, the students don't know yet what those permits are going to cost. That's not been defined. So how do we understand the realities of this process, and how do they understand it? When the parking permits went to $45, we in South Salem felt the change because the students were parking in the neighborhoods in greater numbers than they had ever been because they were trying to avoid $45. How do we know that $100 a semester won't get them out in droves? We asked the city council and the city to stand with us. The college is now getting funds because the big dig is off the state books. Money is flowing into the university, and in this master vision plan, which they've paid Sasaki now 2 iterations on, thousands of dollars to give them the master vision plan. Here we are in Salem. There's no balance. How are we being balanced by our being able to respond to their master vision plan if the planning department doesn't even feel that they need to comment on the MEPA review for the master vision plan? Where's the balance? Where do we get support in South Salem for this incredibly rapid, incredibly dynamic growth of the university? They're planning in the master vision plan to build tens of thousands of square feet of new buildings in South Salem. It is relentless. In addition, there are things that occur that are off plan. The synagogue was never part of the master vision. Capacity 270 people. Now, in the fantasy land that we live in, we've been told that there won't be any students parking on the streets near the synagogue. That they'll walk from O'Keefe, that it's a short walk. There are lots of short walks around the college, around the university campus. They're not walking them now. So the off-plan changes are as troublesome as the planned changes. We may or may not have a legal case in terms of the college complying with city zoning. I say that's the wrong question. I think that we should be looking at the question being, what is the case law that limits the university's building size and building setbacks? Because it strikes me that we're not the first to have to fight this issue, to respond to it, to need representation. I don't think it's that the college needs to comply with the city zoning, although I think morally they do. But the question is, where is the case law that supports our getting relief and mitigation from this kind of building which is destructive to the residential neighborhoods surrounding the university that have been there since the beginning? If you look at $100,000 a house loss in the residential neighborhood abutting the college after this garage, you have $1.5 million in lost value. But if you try and define this as only being limited by a set number of abutters, you don't get it. No one part of this neighborhood is separated or divided out so that a loss by one part does not impact a loss by the others. Look at the degradation of the property along Loring Avenue on the college side. Those single-family homes have in many cases become multi-unit rental apartments that only rent to college students now. The neighborhood has declined where the college has abutted it. You can't sustain that kind of a loss. The growth of the university and the loss of the stability, quality of life, and value of the residential neighborhood doesn't function well going forward. I would ask the City Council and the city to stand with the residents of South Salem in any action that we can take to challenge or oppose this garage. We need your support. We can't do this by ourselves, although we will take on as much as we possibly can. But we need the city to stand with us as we try and provide balance against an incredibly well-funded operation that is hiring people to professionally represent them at every corner so that we have a chance to continue the quality of life that every other neighborhood in Salem has. We have too much traffic. We don't have any belief that the permitting process at the university is going to limit that traffic, and candidly, we don't believe that the college isn't going to grow. If you look at the master vision plan, there's no way that this university is not going to grow going forward. The way that they're building these buildings has to be to support a lot more growth than what they're talking about today. President Meserve talked about the fact that they've in fact lost student population over the last 5 years. In the greatest recession in the history of the United States since the Depression. Of course students couldn't afford to go to college as many of them had before. The other thing that I want you to understand is that by building this enormous garage at $23 million, the cost to add these parking spaces is $43,500 for each individual space. Mr. Edelman will tell you that the parking spaces are only $18,000 or $19,000 each. Sure, but the cost of the additional spaces is $43,500 each. Now, surely we can figure out a more efficient way to use the existing spaces in a functioning parking permit scenario. It's unconscionable that kind of expense to add spaces at that price is just appalling. So we ask for your support, and we ask for your expertise, and we ask for the support of the planning department in a scenario where we would have expected them to support South Salem in responding to the MIPA proposal.
Kristen Lewis.
I'm Kristen Lewis. I live at 416 Lafayette Street, and this is planned for our backyard. And I thank you for this meeting tonight, especially to Mr. O'Keefe. I wanted to tell a little about these models because I've heard that the college thinks that these are primitive and inaccurate. Now, my husband studied design in Florence. He's a build and design contractor. He regularly looks at architectural drawings and implements them. So he's not, it's something he does on a regular basis. I'm an engineer. I studied at Rensselaer Polytechnic Institute, so scaling up from a drawing is not hard for me to do. This is a 380 by 10 or 15 feet stretch behind our back fence. Right now, we already have beer bottle mulch in our backyard that we clean 3 barrels or more of trash barrels every year. I found syringes, small drug bags, and I even found a used condom on my children's play structure. So we have been neighbors of the college. We have put up with that because we are in a college community. But we feel like this is pretty much a punch in the stomach because this is really out of scale, talking about scale diagrams to the community it's in. We have 2-story buildings in our community. That's our house sizes. They're not large. They certainly aren't 5 stories with 7-story towers. You don't need a property value study to know that we're going to lose property value. Our plan was that we were going to sell our home when our children left for college and use our funds from our home that we've worked hard to accumulate to send our children to college. And it's pretty ironic that that's not going to happen because of a university. I have a photo. That I'd like to offer to Mr. Keenan. This is a photo of my family. Now you definitely can't see them. Standing 10 feet in front of the MBTA garage. This is the short side of the garage. The long side of the garage that they're planning to build is much larger than that. And I'd like Mr. Keenan to look at it and think if he'd like his family and his children playing that close to that kind of structure. Now we stood 10 feet, now they've offered us 500 feet. So you'll have to imagine us 5 feet closer.
Ma'am, I'll take that for the record. Thank you. I'm sure I'll get Mr. Keenan a copy. Thank you.
Okay. There was a People's Climate March in New York City on Sunday, and my children went. And I would just love to ask the college to be ahead of the curve in terms of environmental impact. I'm sure that we can come up with a way that we can be in the 21st century instead of back in the 1980s. Thank you.
One more name on it before. Do you mind if I take a picture of the model just for the record? I'll see if I can submit to the clerk, just because it was presented, so I just want to make sure, if that's okay. I want to make sure it's okay with you before I do it. Thank you. The last person on the sheet is Andrew LaPointe, unless there's anybody else. Andrew?
Got a escort from the city clerk. How cool is that? Okay, my name is Andrew LaPointe, 34 Raymond Ave. I've been living at that address since 1985, and it still stands, I'm sure. You know, when you buy a piece of property, location, location, location. And really, the location is beautiful, actually, okay? And the bonus is the neighbors. We have the best neighbors you could ever wish for, okay? So, but we were delivered some good news recently that the difference between the price we paid for the property back in 1985, okay, which was really a good price because we bought it through private. And what we can get for it now is about 90%. Now that's not counting interest, okay, you know what that is, okay? So I don't even want to talk about what that would be. So I'm an investor and I can throw darts at penny stocks and do better. And no one has ever mentioned, you know, for quite a few years, with all the construction that's been going on in the neighborhood between Central Campus and any other, the other places there. You have these little friends, okay, and they're called rodents. And, you know, they're everywhere. You know, you find them in the yard and everything else. And I have a CNI dog. He's not here tonight because he's got Monday nights off.
Hold on, Andrew, just hold on 1 second. Because the city clerk gave me this up-to-date, high-speed. I gotta have a talk with her. We're almost to the 21st century in council chambers.
That's cassette, huh?
That's cassette, yes.
Okay. All right.
Thank you.
All right. You know, there's lots of problems there, but you know, you got great neighbors, great location. One other thing I want to mention, you know, the callers never approached anybody, from what I can understand. Recently, my house was shaken for about 2 or 3 minutes. I mean, literally shaken. It's a 2-family house built like a rock. And my son came in and said, Dad, the walls of the garage are shaking. Okay? So, you know, and that's just boring holes in the parking lot for drainage. What on earth is going to happen when that garage goes up? If it goes up. Okay? Let's be positive. Okay? You know, what's going to happen? I mean, we're talking a big structure closer, and it's going to, they're going to have to put footings in there someplace. Now, I'm not an engineer or anything, but I have a funny feeling the house is going to shake even more. So, that's all I got to say about that. So, hopefully that gives you a little bit more insight. Thank you.
Anybody else?
You know, I can't help myself if you'll give me another minute. It's up to you.
I'll leave it to the indulgence of the committee. I mean, one minute. I mean, if you could just, I mean, I don't want to turn this into everyone gets up and has another.
I understand. There's things in here that I'm reading. It just would bother me too much to miss this opportunity to address them.
Name and address again for the record, please, sir.
Jeff Rugby, 422 Lafayette Street. In this frequently asked questions thing, they talk about disruption from pedestrian traffic and that this garage is going to improve that. And yet, they never ever did a study about pedestrian traffic between the central and south campuses when they did all of the redevelopments there. It took the whole South Salem neighborhood to complain about the traffic at the intersection of Loring Avenue and Raymond Avenue to get a study done. That study got done in 2011, and except for painting some lines on the road, nothing's been done about that since then. And now they're talking about finally putting in a bump out, but I don't know that there's anyone in this room who believes that's really going to make a lot of difference there. There are literally hundreds of kids between classes that walk right out into that street looking at their phones with their headphones on. They never look to see if cars are coming, and the visibility is terrible. There was a comment made about Desmond Associates and how they took the neighborhood into consideration. Now, I think a lot of people here were at the August 20th meeting at Salem State. The gentleman said specifically, no, we did not take the neighborhood into consideration. And I want you guys to hear that. That's important. If somebody's telling you differently, then either he was lying that night or they're lying now. There's been some discussion about sharing the burden of this thing, but all the burden is on South Salem. If you want to share it, then let's carve the garage up into equal-sized pieces, and we can each put one in our living room, and we can use it for a kitchen table. And I think another thing that's really important to remember is that a lot of people were not even aware of the South Salem University Neighborhood Association Committee or Neighborhood Advisory Committee until there was a mailing in June. And I think there are a lot of people who were surprised to find out it existed, and it's not easy. In the Globe, people from Salem State were mocking the idea of sending out letters. We've been told that it's too expensive to send out letters, but people get mail every day. Not everybody gets email, not everybody signed up for their mailing list. There hasn't been a lot of good effort to reach out on that front. And what I started to say before about parking was that the first places that fill up are the streets. The second place that fills up is the Weir lot. The third place that fills up is the North Campus. And the final place that, as far as I can tell, never seems to fill up is the O'Keefe Center. And I think it's worth you guys knowing that, because if the Weir lot is filling up first, then a central location is a better idea. If you put this garage in the back of the North Campus, these kids are still going to have to walk all the way around the North Campus, out onto Loring Avenue, and down the street if they want to get to Central Campus. So I don't believe that that's going to give us any relief. And finally, I'd say that all of us have to think about how we want to be remembered. And do we want to be remembered as the people who supported Salem growth back to the city that it is right now? Or do we want to be remembered as the people who sold out South Salem to the college? I don't want to be in that second group. I hope you don't either. Thanks for listening.
So that's it? Nobody else? Going once, going twice? Thank you. Members of the committee? Comments, remarks?
I'll wait till last.
You're going to wait till last? Thank you, Council. Any comments? Council Legault and Council Turiel. If you don't mind, I'm going to stay here with the microphone.
I'm just going to stand so everybody can, in fact, hear me. I listened to all of the comments. I want to compliment everybody and thank them for being here. And I definitely want to compliment the speakers because they really didn't repeat each other's points.
Speak up. Mike.
They don't have to say. To be brief on what I just said, you didn't hear. Thank you for speaking, and I want to thank you also for not repeating the points that each other's made. You all made fresh points very well, and we appreciate that. I was the guy that asked the representative from Desmond back at that one meeting at the Enterprise Center whether or not the university asked them to consider the scale of the neighborhood buildings when they were designing the garage, and the answer was a distinct and clear, they never asked. They did not ask that. I also noticed that in the letter from President Meserve, she states very clearly that the building took into account, the design of the garage took into account only the scale of the campus buildings and not the scale of the neighborhood buildings. So something's going on there. I'm a little disappointed that President Meserve is not here this evening. No disrespect to Vice President Keenan for coming here to speak for the university, but I believe that she should have been here this evening. I'm very disappointed that she's not.
It's a little different than we usually do. Council Turiel, you got to get up and down.
So, to address a little bit of this and some of these timetables that have been presented here, technically speaking, the Salem State timetable that they've put out is accurate. They did in fact present their vision plan last spring. They have held the meetings in the order that they've stated, but there's a lot missing here. We didn't know that Salem State had decided to go ahead and had proceeded to submit for environmental review their plan. That's not something that we were made aware of. Also, yes, there's an existing system that's designed for SSU to be able to work with the city and work with the neighborhood. It's the SSU NAC, and it meets on the third Wednesday of every month, and Councilor O'Keefe and myself, the Wards 5 and Ward 7 councilors are there, along with a representative from the mayor's office and representatives from the neighborhood. But that all said, Salem State has failed here in making sure that people were aware that this is a venue that people can come and give feedback and address concerns. And they should have been far more proactive about this. They should have gone out and made sure people were aware of this. And they failed to do so. So basically, Salem State does have, they do have a need, obviously, at this point, for more ways to handle car traffic. We know this. None of us are happy about what they've chosen to do. I've gone on record saying that I'm not entirely opposed to parking there, but this is way too much, way too big, way too close, and way too impactful. And I think Salem State, before they go out and address supplies like this, I think they need to do things to address demand. I think we should be reducing the number of permits that Salem State issues. I think we should be restricting undergraduate car ownership. I think we should be trying things like satellite parking with shuttles and maybe even having car sharing services on campuses to reduce the use. If Salem State, in fact, does not grow as they are telling us they don't plan to grow, and whether or not you believe that, whether or not I believe that doesn't even matter, they need to deal with the problem they already have. But part of that problem is making sure there are fewer cars on campus to find parking for, and I think that's really, really important for them to do, and it's something that's been completely neglected in all this planning. Now, I'm not, like I said, I'm not entirely opposed to accommodating more parking there. I would be okay with accommodating more parking back in my own neighborhood at the O'Keefe Center lot if we handle that. But we can increase the supply, but we've got to reduce the demand. That's the most important thing that we can do for this. And we've got to keep these houses clear. We've got to make sure that do what we can to make sure that there's not a huge shadow in the backyards of everybody. And ultimately, ultimately, what we have to do, most importantly of all, is get the university to realize that what they do has a big impact. Not just right there on the campus, and not just right there in the houses that surround the campus, but everywhere in Salem.
We'll go Councilor Epley, then Councilor Gerard.
I'm David Epley. I'm the Ward 4 councilor that's in the highlands of Witchcraft Heights and Dallas Hill. Obviously, this is not part of my part of the city, but certainly after listening to the group of you and your concerns, this is a problem for all of Salem. It's not just South Salem that's dealing with this. One of the things that I would love to see the Committee of the Whole and the City Council do, and I appreciate Vice President Keenan coming and listening tonight. It's kind of a hard job to do, and especially with the new guy on the job. I don't envy him in that role. But what I had asked earlier in the evening was what the cost would be for the city's traffic study. And while I appreciate the fact that the university is willing to foot that bill, I think it's incumbent upon the city, if we're doing this, to ensure that there's any sense of a lack of an independent nature, that the city take on that bill. That's not in any way, shape, or form to denigrate Salem State or what have you, but it provides at least a modicum of a separation and making sure that it's the city that does it. One of the things that we talked about, and we've not passed, is $10,000 potential expenditure on personal ashtrays. This might be a better use of the $10,000. Could be wrong, but what have you. But at any rate, that's my suggestion. I'll
let either Councilor Turiel or Councilor Keefe at some point address that, Council, but I believe that the city picked the traffic engineer and the college agreed to pay for it. So we picked the traffic. It's not a traffic engineer that they picked and they're just paying. We gave our input onto which traffic engineering firm, and I looked, Councilor Turiel is nodding his head, as a person who's president of the body and kind of get into this, as we all are, get into this whole situation. I've been trying to get up to speed and talking to various people, but I believe that's the case, but we'll double check that. But I believe the city did pick the engineer, just for the clarification for everybody, and the college is paying for it. But obviously it's something additional we need to talk to them about that, but they agreed to pay for it, just for the record. Councilor Gerard.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'm Beth Gerard, I'm the Ward 6 Councilor. A couple of things that I've been thinking about and hearing about this. One is that in undergrad I went to UMass Amherst. Now UMass actually has an interesting situation where the UMass campus is in North Amherst. Everything else is happening downtown. So while there is different town gown issues, one of which came up last week with some parties, but they don't have the same situation. And even at UMass there wasn't a 5-story parking garage. And that was away from everyone. Though the city did, the town of Amherst did look at putting in a parking garage downtown, and what they did was they went underground. They only went up maybe 2 levels, and then another 2 or 3 underground. And then the other thought too is, and someone had mentioned New York, which before I moved to Salem, I lived in New York. Now, a couple of things about that. I didn't move here because I wanted to continue living in New York. I am here because this is a beautiful community and I'm originally from here. But in New York, where you have all of these buildings on top of each other, and it's very difficult to get the sunlight to be out and about, and when you get to the park, that's your only hope of having something close to a backyard. And honestly, it's very depressing. Another thing, when I was living there, I worked for NYU Medical Center. Now, I don't know if you all are aware of this. NYU Medical Center does not belong to New York University, because New York University owns too many buildings in New York. They weren't allowed to have this, and they had to unload it. But the thought of this building being so close to the neighbors, it's not right. It's not something that I would wish on anybody. It's not something. So really, I hope that we can work this out to a better solution. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Council Fury, for the record, if anyone's thinking I'm not paying attention, I have to jot, for the city clerk, I have to jot notes on what everyone says, so if you see me looking down, it's because I'm trying to paraphrase what everyone's saying, so just for the record. Councilor Fury.
Tom Fury, Council Large, 18 years. 12 years in school. Lifelong resident. I commend and congratulate Mayor Driscoll for the independent traffic study. I will be glad to support the conclusions, and I hope you will. I had the opportunity to graduate from Salem High School in 1968, a very tumultuous year, 1968. Tom Hanks has been doing a cable study on it of the 60s, and I graduated in 1968. This is my yearbook. To everything there is a season, and a time for every purpose under heaven. And that's my yearbook, 1968. And when I graduated, and on March 1968, I heard from Melmac College that I was be able to go into Melmac College, but because of my family background, I could not afford Melmac College. So I went to Salem State College. And the year I graduated from Salem High School, on the very same date that I graduated, Robert F. Kennedy was killed on June 6, 1968, the year I graduated. If I may quote a very famous man who also was assassinated that very momentous year of 1968, Martin Luther King. Our lives begin to end the day we become silent about things that matter. Sincerely, Salem State matters deeply to me. And it deeply matters to you, the future of Salem. It matters to your house, your property value, your families. All this is talked about. I've gone to your meetings. I've gone to the meetings since 18 years. So South Salem Neighborhood Association. It's been fully publicized and weekly, monthly, whenever they meet in the Salem Evening News. We've all been invited over the years to go. So I sincerely believe, I hope, that you will concur. And I wonder if how many of you walked tonight. I did. I took these 2 boats and I walked from my house on 36 Dunlap Street to over here, and it took me 15 minutes. I wonder how many of you walked here to this meeting. And you're telling students that you cannot walk. They're taking their car. But we took our car, many of you, to this very meeting on 6 o'clock tonight, daylight, and the library closes at 2 o'clock in the morning. So I sincerely believe, I think, as a council at large, it's my obligation, looking back at Bobby Kennedy, who often spoke, why not? Martin Luther King, quote, that we all involved in tonight. So I sincerely believe that we should look at the solution. Is it the proper solution? I hope it can be a proper solution. But if it comes out with this traffic study, it's funded by Salem State University, and comes out and says, no, it's not the right site, I'll be the first one to say, it's not the right site. Many of you will say the same thing. But will you say the same thing if they say it's the only site? I don't think so. I think the fight will go on and on and on. Sincerely, Salem State has been my roadmap, my blueprint, my lighthouse for so many people, for so many generations. It has given me, so many others, a purpose beyond life, anything I have known. I believe we need to come together for a common cause and a common purpose for this long, prestigious legacy of this institution. We have 5 major institutions in the city of Salem. 5. This bank is closed. It's a meeting room, right? We have 5 major institutions. Salem State University, 1,500 employees. Those employees can send their kids to college. Those employees, the custodians, the professors, can even go to college. That's the American community. Salem Hospital, all their employees. Do we have a right to their property to tell them what to do? They're going to go on a big urban renewal project soon. The courthouse is undergoing a major facelift, probate, where my son was adopted, right behind us. Do we have a bunch of input? No. Footprint, a $1 billion project sponsored by Toyota. Employees, traffic, all this going on. The PBS Museum where I work part-time, 500 employees. Without those 5 major institutions, Salem would be Chelsea. Salem would be Lawrence. So I believe a marriage needs to take place, a reality. And I hope, after the meetings, and I've gone to all these meetings, and the last couple meetings I've been meetings quiet. I listen. Once in a while I speak up like tonight. So I sincerely believe that I'll be the first one, if this traffic study comes up saying, oh, we can build a 7th-floor garage on Canal and Long Avenue. But I think I remember going to a meeting recently with the council president at the First Church in Salem about flooding. If there's a Hurricane Sandy takes place in the next 5 years, 5 years, what's going to go under in Salem? The police station, the fire station, DPW, SESD, floors underneath SESD. This very garage that you are anticipating on Canal Street, that's going to go under too. Right there. Salem State parking garage. It goes under a 2-inch rain. Lake Salem State. You know what goes underwater? The new dorms at Salem State College. If a Hurricane Sandy takes place. It's a matter of time. Guess what doesn't go under? Water. Guess what doesn't want water? This garage in your home. So consider that reality. And I hope by the traffic study, you agree, and I will agree, publicly, I would agree, as a councilor. But sincerely, I see no other alternative. And I may have to disagree with you. It's not easy to sail against the wind, chart the course, turn the tide, but that's what I'm doing tonight. I'm not necessarily always be in favor of every single neighborhood group, whether it's a smoking in a restaurant or even a 4-year mayor, other issues. I stand on principle. And I'm very proud to be Salem State resident, Salem State college graduate. Thank you.
Council Siegel.
For those of you who don't know me, my name is Todd Siegel. I'm the Ward 3 City Councilor. I didn't plan to speak tonight, but after hearing everyone in the audience, I felt it was my duty to say a few words. I'd first like to say I fully support the neighborhood. I think what Salem State is recommending and looking to build is out of place. It doesn't fit there. Thank you. I also don't believe that a traffic study is really going to do anything. A traffic study, traffic is one issue. The other issue we have, which is a major concern, it should be one of the biggest concerns, is health and safety. We're building a garage which is 54, Salem State is building a garage, or wants to build a garage which is 54 feet high in the air. As you can see from the picture, I don't know if anyone saw the picture that was passed up, or the model. It's basically going to be dark. These houses are not going to get any sun. It's going to be air pollution, noise pollution. There's going to be all types of trouble. It comes down to common sense. The way I look at it is common sense. Would anyone from Salem State University, and I asked Vice President Keenan, would he like this if we built this on Dearborn Street? Would he like this in his backyard? Common sense, the answer is no. I'd ask the university to think twice. We're supposed to work in conjunction, the city and the university, but all I see is there's no give. All I see is a take here. With that said, I fully support the neighborhood, and anything I can do, I'll be more than happy to help.
Council Sutton.
Thank you, Mr. President. And thank everybody for being here tonight. I too am a Salem State College alumni. My grandfather went to Salem Normal School. My son goes to Salem State now. And Salem State matters to me, and I believe in all the good they do. But even though it's been, as a family, to me going there, if somebody in my family wasn't treating somebody fair, I step forward and I tell them, good or bad, right or wrong, you don't treat people like that. And I don't believe the university should be treating its neighbors quite this way. For all the good they do, and there's so much good, there's just that not treating the abutters the way they would want to be treated themselves. They're just not practicing the golden rule. There's nobody in this room, myself included, nobody on the MFPA, the ABC, the CIA, any group you want to say, that could stand in one of your backyards and say that they would accept that in their own backyard. I mean, part of the reason I ran for city council was it dovetailed off an issue in my neighborhood where they wanted to build a superstore 10 feet from our backyards. And we fought that very hard. And luckily the land wasn't owned by the state, and we were able to prevail. If Salem State or somebody else had owned that land, we would not have prevailed, and I would have been in the same position you're in. It just wouldn't have been quite so high. But I know that feeling. I fought that fight, and did a lot of walking around, passing out flyers, and it ended up having me run for city council. I cannot help but put myself in the shoes of my constituents. Somebody in the newspaper once wrote that an elected official didn't have the guts to go against their constituents. Well, the constituents are who we work for. I don't have the guts to go against my friends, my employees, and my neighbors. And that's why I run, and that's why I'll continue to run. Okay? We need to be the kind of counselor that we wanted when we were on council is for you. That's our job, and I love doing it, and that's the way I feel about it. Now, morally versus legally. It's very easy to say something's legal. That's legal. But does it pass the moral test? You know, and this doesn't quite pass the moral test that I would want in my neighborhood. There are alternatives. I mean, one of them that I pointed out isn't something that I'm saying, geez, this could be built. I was over to visit a neighbor of mine, Mark Riley, at Beverly Hospital, and I come walking out, and I saw the garage that they could build at Salem State. It has no ramps inside. It has just a road outside and 4 levels. And we had talked about the parking lot on Lafayette Street behind the Peabody dorms, between Lafayette Street and the Peabody dorms. There's a possibility to build that same type of garage that there is at Beverly Hospital, where the top level would be ground level at Lafayette Street, and the bottom level would be ground level with the bottom of those dorms. And the road down would be that same ramp that they have in Beverly. The garage is already built. It's not a dream. It's something that people just have to go over there and look at and say, we could do that here, and it would be 10% of the impact on your neighborhood as that garage they're proposing. And I can't understand why we can't do something like that. The other thing I look at Salem State is to imagine the shoes on the other foot. Imagine they were butters the federal government, and the federal government can trump them the way the state can trump the city. And the federal government beside them is, say, an airport. And all of a sudden they want to extend a runway close to the college that would disturb their classes, and their students wouldn't be able to hear what was going on in the classroom, or the people in the dorms wouldn't be able to sleep at night. They would not want the federal government to say to them, well, it's legal. We can do it, but we're just doing it because we want. They would want the federal government to do what they thought was morally right for their university. And that's why I asked the college to do what they feel is morally right for the neighborhood and the city of Salem also. There's an old story about an ancient army that's marching to battle. Thousands and thousands of men. And they come to a place where there's a bazaar. So
You're right in the middle of the thought, too. Did I flip this once already? Yes. Thank you. Man, 3rd tape already. Cheryl's keeping me on kids. You got your notes, you ready?
I'm ready.
All right. There we go. It's all right.
Thank you. So there's no other way for the army to get by. And there's a bazaar, and it's with thousands of people in it, all kinds of shops, and the army can't get through. So one of the generals says to the leader of the army, what do we do? They want to march through and just level the bazaar. It's legal, but it's not moral. But the leader has much more, character than that. He pulls all those people aside, and the whole army just goes shopping. They just make their way through the bazaar. They make their way through the bazaar like they're shopping, come up and form out on the other side, and off they go, 100,000 men with the bazaar intact. Nobody's leveled, even though it would have been legal. I asked the college to leave this neighborhood intact as they march through. Thank you.
Thank you.
For a minute there, I thought you were going to do a reference to the Battle of the Light Brigade. And I was going to do it. Councilor O'Keefe.
Thank you, Mr. President. I want to thank you all for coming. I especially want to thank the City Council who was able to come here tonight and listen to our concerns about this garage, which is too big and it's in the wrong location. I see Senator Lovely back there. I want to thank her for her interest and support in this particular endeavor. I also want to thank John Keenan. He served as Assistant City Solicitor for us. Did an admirable job, and he did as a state representative. And I feel that he is here in another role tonight, but that doesn't diminish our appreciation of what he has done for the city of Salem in his long tenure in government. And I know it was difficult perhaps for him to come here, but I appreciate him here, and discussing this matter, and our friendship will always prevail on this matter. Yeah, we have, disagree with people, that doesn't mean we have to be disagreeable. I also want to thank the mayor. When this came up, after I discussed it several times personally with President Missouri, I spoke with the mayor, and she agreed to meet with me and set up a meeting with the abutters, which she has done. 15 abutters abut the university property, proposed location of this garage, and 14 were able to come at her office in the evening at 5 o'clock on a Thursday to discuss what the city could do. Where do we go from here? What do we work? She's working on that. She's assigned a city solicitor to help in this endeavor. She's concerned about what is happening here. I can't say she's opposed to it right now, but I'm concerned that she wants to do the right thing. I didn't attend Salem State University. I have 3 grandchildren that went there. Shannon and Tony Mataragas are related to me, and they went there, and Tony Mataragas was a big basketball student at Salem State University. And he believes this is a terrible location for that garage, even though he lives in Salem. But I have a granddaughter that's there now, and I'm going to have a granddaughter that's Mount Shore Community College, what they call the 2+2 program. You go 2 years community college, if you take the right courses, you go to university. So she plans to go into university there. So there's all kinds of O'Keefes and Sullivans and Mataragases that are involved in this particular. But I want to thank you humbly for coming, because it's the wrong place at the wrong location, and it's too big. And I'm going to, at the end of all this, Councilor Terrell and myself are going to discuss a resolution later this week. The City Council meets this Thursday on what appropriate action the City Council, we would recommend to the City Council. Briefly, I'm initially talking to Josh last night, or this morning too. I believe that we should ask the university, trustees of the university, were appointed by the governor and the president, to think again about another location, and preferably my location would be in George's ward on Canal Street, from a Ware property. And I don't know why the Ware property wasn't in the mix. When the university went to the study, they had the campus center, North Campus, the Central Campus, and they couldn't put anybody else in there without a parachute to get them into there now, let alone a car, and the O'Keefe Center. Ware property was not in the mix, even though they were in the process of tearing it down. So, can't we work on this? Life is too short to fight and argue. It's the wrong place and in the wrong location, and it's too big. And you saw the photos that with Christy, but I mean, the kids standing there. But remember now, just look at that I watched that parking garage downtown at the T station from the first column they put in. And it's fascinating how they put it together like an erector set. Now that 675 car garage is smaller than the one they want to put at Salem State. Now think of that. The monstrosity, really, we need it down there, but it's bigger, it's smaller than the one they want to put in your backyards or in that particular area. Now, another point, I knew nothing about the MEPA notice. I knew nothing about the MEPA notice coming to the so-called Salem State University Neighborhood Advisory Committee, appointed by Mayor Driscoll and by the president of Salem State to work with the neighborhoods. Now, the least the university could have done was told us that they had filed this and that we had to have back comments by the 8th of August. Now, we knew nothing about that. And the first thing I'll do tomorrow is ask our planning department, did they get a notice of this particular thing? And I see the heads were nodding in the wrong direction. So we know nothing about this. So now for them to say that, oh, we've already filed this plan and we've got these long-range goals and objectives, that's wrong as wrong can be, because we knew nothing. The city council, in my mind, knew nothing about this. And I'm sure Josh, as interested as he in this particular matter, knew nothing about this. So that's a done deal. That's not so. We knew nothing about it. Now the next point, talk about traffic. If you try to go on Loring Avenue and Jefferson Avenue any day for the last month, you're going to wait. The traffic today was all the way back to Minute Square with the construction of the gas mains on at the intersection of Jefferson and Loring. Now think about what is going to happen when they try to put all these cars in the parking lot. Let me sketch out what they plan to do. They're looking at a traffic study that will allow the cars, automobiles, to go from Lafayette Street down a one-way street. If you can envision, there's a street down there near Peabody Hall that the cars will go in, the motor vehicles will go down there and go into this garage, and they also will go down a two-way street they're going to create at College Drive coming in from Lorry Ground. So in other words, there's going to be two ways in, but only one way out. There's only one way out of this garage, and that's on this new College Drive reconfiguration out to Lorry. Now imagine everybody coming out in the afternoon when the students are getting out of Horace Mann Laboratory School. Imagine that. Our traffic people, Lieutenant Pazuski says they have to eliminate some of the parking spaces we have now for the teachers. So where are the teachers going to park then if they teach at the school? They're going to miss about 6 of them on either side of the even-numbered side of Loring Avenue. So where are they going to park? Now imagine all those cars coming in and out of that area. Now they're not going out Lafayette Street. They're going out College Drive. For years, I've been trying to get the university to have no left turns on a Loring Avenue at 121 Loring Avenue, the Enterprise Center. If you go in there any day, you're coming into town, coming into Loring Avenue, somebody is trying to, some student really is trying to come out of the central campus to make a class at the south campus, turning left into Loring Avenue when everybody is coming into town. Now on any given day, you'll see people having to stop to let cars in and out of that 121 Loring entrance. The university will not allow that. I said, well, just let police and the buses take left turns. They didn't want to do that either. So they're totally uncooperative to try to help on Loring Avenue, where that's a mess every day. Now, regarding the students bringing their cars to the campus, the next snowstorm, you just observe how many cars do not have the snow wiped off their roof. Just notice that, how many cars are parked in our neighborhoods where the students who aren't supposed, especially freshmen, aren't supposed to bring students, technically, I understand. They bring the cars to use, park them up front of their house, residential property, don't clean the snow off, and because there's no school. They don't have to go anywhere. So this whole business of parking and giving out all these stickers, to me, it has to be addressed by the university and with our traffic consultant too. Now, finally, I want to thank you again for coming. This is not over. This is not over by a long shot. And we will fight, all of us, I hope, my colleagues, Josh, Taria, myself, work on this for the betterment of the citizens of your neighborhoods, our neighborhoods, and Salem in general. And God bless you all for coming. God bless America.
Anyone else? I'd just like to say, for the record, I agree with almost everything that's been said. I heard everyone tonight. I want to thank everyone for coming again. Once again, I want to go on record as thanking Salem 5, clerk's office, the mayor's office for putting this together. The mayor sent us, all the council members, a letter just before the meeting. I will make sure that that letter is submitted to the clerk, and then I'll make it available to Dr. Curtin so he can post that letter to his group as well. The whole idea of parking permits is, I'm just going to make one comment about that, is we're going to reflect on Councilor Gerard's comments of being at UMass Amherst. My son is currently there, and they discouraged all freshmen from bringing cars only for the sheer fact that if you have a car on campus, you'll be the go-to person for everybody to go someplace and take you. You know, it'll be like a taxi cab for people. They charge, and don't quote me the exact number, but I want us to believe, to get a permit where you have to go park by the football field, I want to say it was $285 for a freshman, because they want to deter the freshmen, and they put them in such a location that, you know, if you know where if I could lay out the campus, which is huge, it's a walk, let me tell you. But once again, I want to thank everyone for coming. I want to thank everyone who doesn't know the city solicitor's been sitting in the front row. No one posed a question, no one in the body posed a question to her, but she's been taking diligent notes, as we all have. And at this time, I'd entertain a motion from either Councilor O'Keefe or Councilor Terrell. Well, I was, Councilor O'Keefe jumped in. I'm going to go to Councilor Terrell on this one, because Councilor Terrell?
It's a question.
I move at this time that the matters remain in committee, but I'd also move along with that Councilor O'Keefe and I work to hopefully have something that we can post for a committee of the whole meeting for tomorrow, or committee of the whole meeting prior to our meeting on Thursday, to have something ready for us to review. That would be
Thursday.
that would be ready for Thursday. Night's not over yet.
No. The question would be what time of the meeting? You're not going to have an A&M meeting?
Yeah, there's no A&M meeting. So we can post it for, say, 6:15 to review and then take it out of committee.
Okay, now I have to conduct myself like a council meeting. Not that I haven't been trying all night. There's a motion on the floor by Councilor Terrell to keep the matter in committee and further move that Councilor O'Keefe and Councilor Terrell prepare language in the form of a resolution letter. I didn't quite understand that.
I would say I believe it's the Councilor O'Keefe, but I would say a resolution on our behalf.
That Councilor O'Keefe and Councilor Terrell provide a resolution for the body to review at a meeting to be held on Thursday at 6 o'clock.
To the President of Salem State and the Board of Trustees.
Well, I'll leave it to that, but the letter or the resolution be drafted to the President of Salem State University as well as the trustees of Salem State University. Is that correct, Council?
Board of Trustees, yes.
Board of Trustees.
For all parties.
For all parties.
Yes.
Okay, did everyone get that? Yep. So if the city clerk can work her magic and get this, because we also have to adhere to open meeting laws, that if we can get this posted so that at such a time that we can have this committee meeting on this Thursday at 6 o'clock, it'll be a committee of the whole. We'll review the language of which we want to put in this resolution, and the committee will then, if the resolution is acceptable to everybody in the body, we'll adjust the language. Councilor Terrell is going to bring his magic gizmos that he does to update stuff, and then we'll print it up someplace and have it available to everyone to review in the council. And if that language is acceptable, then that resolution will be brought forth at the council meeting on Thursday night, which it starts at 7 o'clock. Second, good. I don't have to repeat that. See, someone's paying attention down there. So the motion on the floor, seconded by Councilor Eppley. All those in favor? All those opposed? Councilor O'Keefe?
No, move adjournment.
Councilor O'Keefe moves for adjournment. Stand adjourned. Thank you very much.